Hi, this is this is Professor or Instructor Greg Hobbs, and I'm going to go through a quick review of Unit 4 in Fundamentals of Management, which is Management course number 923 on ethics. So please listen carefully. Again, this is just a very short review on the topic of ethics. So quickly, what is ethics? Ethics may be defined as that set of moral values or principles defining right or wrong for a group, a culture, or a nation. And that's very, very true in terms of ethics, because everyone, every single country, every culture has its own type of morals or ethics in which it lives on, or principles, as it says, and values that it says. Some of you students are from India, and the principles and values in India are very different than the values and principles here in the United States of those who quote call themselves Americans, and they're different, or United States citizens, and they're different from those that call themselves Latin Americans or Europeans. So those values are different around the world, and those principles in which things operate within a culture are very, very different. So we look at ethics and then we look at our moral values. Now, one thing to remember, since the world is getting smaller and smaller as a result of this wonderful thing called the internet, we have to be mindful of those facts, that people do hold different values and that people do hold different principles very dear and very near. Okay? So the other thing, ethics and self-interest. In teaching ethics to business leaders, we have been inhibited by the overemphasis on self-interest as the sole primary motive underlying business theory. Okay? Self-interest emphasis has led to serious problems. It has led to cynicism when it talks about caring. Basically, that if someone cares in business, it must be fake. Basically, what this is saying is that money, profit, revenue generation is really at the root of every single business, versus the fact that they are doing something for the good of the individuals. And I think we've seen some changes in that recently, right? For example, I mean, the advent of the internet certainly changed the way the world worked and the way we function in the world, because now we all have a means of communicating via the internet and seeing different parts of the world, through the lens of our internet travels. And so that has made it a lot different. And so therefore we see certain things. We can see whether something is fake, or we can see whether someone is real or not. So there's more ways to do that as a result of technology. And again, one of the things we talked about earlier in the class was ethics and the dual motive theory, the emergence of the dual motive theory based on neuroscience. This has allowed us a clear understanding and a safe statement of nature and the source of ethics. What dual motive basically says is that the motives of empathy, when fully recognized and applied, leads to ethical behavior necessary to successful social change, and can change an enterprise. It can change a behavior when we really look at that, because dual motive basically says that we have two sides of our brain. We have a side that is empathetic, we have a side that's egotistical. And actually, if you look through history, as a result of trying to come to a balance, that has allowed the world to evolve into what it is today, and the world to grow as it has today. It's not always been good, it's not always been perfect, but basically because of that balance, we've been able to really, we've been able to grow as a people, as a world, as a global world, and we're going to have that balance if we want to continue growing as a globalized society. So ethical deviance in the workplace it talks about. So it's a couple facts here. 33 to 75% of employees admit in surveys of some form of deviance. Deviance meaning bad behavior within the workplace, right? They've done something wrong. They've stolen. They've cheated. They've done a number of different things, right? Many people have taken. I've taken the pens and the pencils from work, and some people might say, well, that's not deviance, but it is technically when you think about it. Cost estimates anywhere from 600 to 700 billion per year as a result of employees, either doing something incorrect or wrong in their workplace. Okay. So, types of workplace deviance, okay, stealing, computer fraud, embezzlement. Embezzlement and fraud, I mean, we see this in certain cases with Enron, with WorldCom. We see this in corruption in governments all around the world. We see sabotaging of products and projects. All types of things. We're talking about organizations, but if you look at the world in which we live in today, we see that a lot of times these things, happened even within our own governmental systems, whether democratic or whatever. Okay, property deviance includes, stealing from the company, kickbacks, inflating hours. I mean, this is what some of those companies, again, not to single anyone out, but some of the companies who are recently in the newspaper, I mean, what they did was they basically, forged documents. They basically, did not, account for various things, various expenses, which inflated their balance sheets and inflated their income statements. Even today with the mortgage crisis, did these banks, were they careful when they were giving out loans to people? What did they take into consideration, or were they just interested in giving a loan and making money? Okay, serious personal deviance could be verbal abuse, could be harassment on the workplace, stealing from coworkers, endangering other coworkers. And that's where really, sometimes people don't feel included. Sometimes people feel left out. Sometimes we look at people differently and abuse them verbally. And so that actually also is considered deviance within the workplace. Okay, so before 1991, management lacked the knowledge of offenses, and the firm was not liable. So basically, the firm wasn't liable. And in 1991, that basically changed, where the firms really became liable for various unethical behavior. You had, many more harassment-type suits, lawsuits in the United States as a result of, these changes in management behavior and change in government regulation. Okay. So, and it covers all the U.S. Sentencing Commission guidelines for organizations, covers all the forms of business, including nonprofit. It encourages the prevention of white-collar crime, stealing from the workplace. And it also says that makes companies to become compliant and with various programs. And it reduces culpability, score, and fines. Those fines can be levied on companies as a result of of unethical behavior. Okay, so theories of moral development. These are some theories that have come out in terms of the growth of empathy within the workplace, and you can look those up online with regards to that. Practical steps for corporations and ethical behavior. You have to think about the employees that you're selecting. You have to establish, many companies have established a code of ethics, establish ethical type training. So training on sexual harassment, training on how do you work with diverse work groups, things along those lines are very important. Ethic and ethical climate for the firm. So basically have an ethical climate for the firm. Social responsibility. How are we social responsibly? Are we concerned about the weather? Are we concerned about things like global warming? Are we concerned about how pollution and those types of things? We have that social responsibility. Are we concerned about the community in which our company is built and works in? Okay, and then we have to look at, the social applies to all the stakeholders. It applies to society at large. Again, we, the company, are the stakeholder, and society at large is the people who we want to benefit from all of not just our products, but what we do, how we work, where we work. Those are the kinds of things that we need to be more in line with. And that's really the last slide. So what I'd like for you folks to do as an assignment is I want you to look up Enron and read through some of the case history of Enron, which was sued and went into federal court for fraud. And I want you to tell me, what do you think that they functioned? How were they unethical? And what do you feel should be done to them? Okay, so thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you in the next segment. Bye.